morning as we look back on the previous week's events that took place in Victoria in Australia, and in particular in Melbourne. We have to thank Darius. We have to give him and his administration, all of us around the world, gratitude, thanks, and appreciation for these motherfuckers showing themselves for what they truly are. That behind their whole bollocks about public health policy, that behind their whole bullshit about protecting the safety of the public, that behind their whole bollocks about keeping safe, that they're just a bunch of fucking thugs who have a hatred of working class people. And that's what's driven by that, a hatred of working class people. And he's done great work. Thank you, Mr. Andrews. You've done a tremendous job. You've showed what all of those motherfuckers who are running this needlecraft warfare are really like inside. Thank you for shutting down the internet in Victoria and in Melbourne, because you showed the world what the kind of fucking cunts we're dealing with. Okay, just thank you for being direct and not hiding it behind, a song and a dance and a smile like Justin Trudeau. Thank you for sending in the police to fire rubber bullets at the Anzac Monument at working class people who just want to live their lives and do their jobs. Thank you so much for that, for showing your true nature. Thank you to the police the police in Melbourne, as I should call them, the Chinese Expeditionary Force. The Chinese Communist Party Expedition. That's what you're to know your police force as. Those of you in Victoria and all of us around the world, unless they take a stand with us, from now on, all Western police are to be known as the Chinese Communist Expeditionary Force. That's what they were. They looked like that. They behaved like that. They attacked their fellow man like that. Thank you so much for that, Dan Andrews and the government in Victoria. Thank you for blocking out news media from showing cameras from overhead footage, so they could show the coppers beating people up. Thank you for that. Thank you for all the things you've done this week in your classic bureaucratic fascist thug incompetence. You've shown the world what you really are like, and by extension, what all your similar muppets in all our other Western countries are also like. On behalf, you got a bit too Beijing too quickly. You got a bit too Beijing too quickly. And where in other countries like Ireland, they've managed to hold off, our local Chinese Communist Party Expeditionary Force have been told to hold off. In other countries, they've been told to hold off. Not so much in the UK, where they've been bullying people, but you got too Beijing too quickly, and you showed who's really calling the shots. Now, we've reached a crossroads and a crisis here in the West, that it's now fully apparent that the Chinese Communist Party are in control of just about every Western nation. They're dictating healthcare policies, everything from mass media agendas all the way down towards education. They're showing their everywhere. The Bolsheviks didn't arrive as Russians. The Bolsheviks arrived as Russians in the 1920s and failed miserably, and were all machine gunned in Munich and so on. They failed, but they've come back now as Chinese business people and business concerns. And I'm not putting that because of Chinese people. I'm talking about the communists here. And so it's, Dan Andrews did a wonderful thing there last week. He showed them what we're really up against. The mask was dropped. The mask, and the tradies, the working class people of Victoria and Melbourne, did a wonderful thing. They showed they stood their ground. Like I said a few months back, or months so back, what we have, we hold. What we have now, we hold. And the tradies held. They held their ground. But just by the mere act of holding their ground, they got the other side, Dan Andrews, to show what he really is. You see, they're also incompetent, these people. Remember, in any other walk of life, someone like Dan Andrews would be a school teacher of a small primary school or a small secondary school in some rural community. And he takes that mentality and amplifies it up to the macro level. See, everything is as above, so below. And he's like the whole thing, the lockdown is like detention. You lot better do what I tell you, or I'll put you in detention, lockdown detention for another 5 months. I'm the boss. I'm Dan. Dave Cullen did a great parody of that. But that's what he's like. Dan says you do this. Dan says you do that, and absolutely disgraceful. These people are elected officials. They're not our bosses. But you see, because they've been so slathered in communist Chinese money and associations, that they've started to act like Pong Tang Fang or whatever the name of their boss is. Whatever the name of their Cocker Spaniel muncher is back in Wuhan or wherever, some place like that. And yeah, what can we say except thank you? Thank you very much, Dan. Your desperation against your nation was a revelation. Oi, man, hey, your desperation against your nation was a revelation. Yeah. You even get reggae on here. Bad reggae on here. God almighty. What a world, eh? In other news, Norway and Denmark have thrown out all restrictions. So Scandinavia, for the most part, is heading in the right direction. So that's all that stuff has been thrown out. You see, the reason why it's from country to country is because how many Bang Dong Fangs or Wang Dong Fung or fucking Fu Manchus are telling your politicians what to do and think. Because Norway has oil, they don't have Chinese communist types in their country telling them what to do, because they have their own fuck you money in terms of the oil. So they can say fuck you. Well, here in Ireland, where the Chinese Communist Party completely control the political system, they have to do as Bang Dong Fung, or his name is. I need a gong. Am I being stereotypical? Fucking course I am. Course I am. In that level. But yeah, that's going on. Simple as that. And the more CCP-ification you have in a country, and Australia is paying an enormous price for being basically owned by Beijing. So is America. So is the United States, especially. You look at, like, what would Amazon be without Chinese cheap labor? What would Apple be? What would Microsoft be? What would all of them be? All these big American corporations be without Chinese cheap labor exploiting those people in those factories? They wouldn't be anywhere. So this is why you have Amazon has so much power over Beijing. Beijing! CHOBE by BJING. Beijing, the American current diplomatic attaché on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party in America. And yeah, so it's because of Amazon is dependent completely on Chinese Communist Party business that they call the shots of the US government and everyone else. So they're controlling our policies. It's amazing how it's come full circle. We've finally got fascism by its true definition. Fascism is corporations running a society, It's government by corporations, and the CCP in China, although it calls itself the Chinese Communist Party, it actually is true. It's not, even though it's all tied up with all these big corporations. If you read the Communist Manifesto, it's nothing like what you think it is. A lot of people go on about like Das Kapital by Engels, or the Communist Manifesto by Marx. They haven't really read it. It's like the Bible. But when you read it, they're economic philosophies. That's what they are, and they're very interesting as well. If you read the economic philosophy behind, say, the Communist Manifesto, you have to come away thinking, yeah, it's not bonkers. It's actually a pretty okay system in terms of what it's trying to achieve. But in practicality, it doesn't work because human beings are not like that. Human beings are not robots unless they're bred like robots, is what's happening now. But we saw this week in Ireland a shameless propaganda thing like you would not believe concerning climate change, Don't know why I said that with an Australian accent. Climate change. It's probably because Dan used it a lot. But I never heard him. I bet Dan uses. But Dan's very concerned about climate change. Yeah, but I bet that down there, that big fucking Victorian sponge. But so we had children walking out of a posh school in Ireland, with a little sign saying "Climate Action Now." Right? They go to the government buildings, and then the minister for, I don't know, psychiatric gymnastics comes out, who's a Green Party guy, and says, I will listen to the children about their concerns. But the whole thing was staged. The whole thing was so fucking staged. It was fucking frightening. And the gas thing is, like the Extinction Rebellion toffs in England last week, what are they asked? They've gotten everything they wanted. I mean, climate change is an issue that 90% of Irish people don't give a fuck about. And here's the government acting through using kids. They always use kids, especially the Green Party. I'll put my link to my Green Party documentary below, and you'll see how they've always had a very sinister interest in children. And they're basically Bolsheviks, watermelons. And you see they get what they want. And they've gotten what they want, and they're acting like they're victims. It's like every mandate that the Greens want is basic globalist policy now, and they have these green activists going, climate action now. Dan likes climate. If there's two fucking things that Dan loves, he loves fucking oppression. He loves fucking shooting rubber bullets at the fucking tradies, and Dan fucking loves the fucking climate. He loves the fucking climate, right? Because what the point of that is, because Po Tong Fang has told me to push climate policy, because the more I push the climate policy, the more industry is left from Victoria and other Western nations. And all the industry and all the manufacturing that goes, because it's dirty and causes carbon, it goes to fucking, Dan sends it to fucking China, right? When it goes to fucking China, they got all the fucking industry and hold all the fucking cards. So we're fucking, it's like in World War II, right? Right, they fucking went into fucking Europe, right? And the fucking machine guns, and they robbed the fucking factories, right? Like when the Jerrys went into the fucking Czechoslovakia, they took the fucking factories, right? Right. Nowadays they do it with instead of using bombs, because bombs are fucking dirty, and like fucking John Lennon, give peace a fucking chance and all that, right? Now what they fucking do now is they go, the industry's fucking dirty, right? And you gotta fucking move it to fucking China. That's what Dan fucking does. That's what they fucking move the industry to fucking China, right? And it's the same fucking thing as the Nazis taking the fucking, the Skoda factory in fucking Czechoslovakia. It's fucking war fucking booty. But instead of fucking bombing us, they fucking hit us with climate taxes. And that's how it works. That's how the Chinese Communist Party have seized the means of production of the entire West by promoting this climate agenda, that all factories and all manufacturing and all power plants, like for instance, like the Chinese are opening a day oil-fired and coal-fired power plants, while the lunatics who run this country, Ireland, which produce 1.6% of the world's carbon and pollution, are shutting down our power stations and putting up these little fucking windmills. You know, like they're like the fucking things you get at the fairground when you're a kid, like that. You know, that's what like. And so far, I'm terribly concerned about the climate change. You know, like so my brother when he went into the Green Party, I'm traditionally from a Fianna Fáil party, But when he went into the party and they went into fucking, I said, what do we do about this? Well, there's a fucking power station down the road, right? Fucking coal powered fire station, right? It produces so much fucking electricity, right? That even fucking if Joan Collins and fucking Madonna put their vibrators into it, there'll still be fucking power left over. If fucking yeah, if fucking Katy Perry plugged their fucking vibrator into it, there'll still be power left over. It produces that much capacity. So what I'd fucking do now is I'd shut the fucking thing down and put up a few fucking windmills in the field, right? That doesn't produce enough fucking electricity. It produces less electricity than fucking uh, Burt Reynolds fucking herpes sores. Okay, it produces less than that, right? But it's good for the environment, right? Like, because I get grants and I get money, right? So it's fucking great for that, like. But so shut the fucking power plant down because Mister Pung Tang Fang said so, and it's going on all over the world, all over the world. And this is why the Chinese are winning because they're geniuses. They're much more intelligent than we are. We're as thick as two fucking shits in the West. And and whenever you stand up for yourself, you see the true colours come out. And that's why we should be grateful to Dane in Australia, in Victoria, for doing what he did. Could you ever think you would see the day when a Western nation would shut down the internet to stop its citizens from telling the rest of the world what's really going on? Would you ever thought you'd see the day when black thugs, black clad thugs in police uniforms attacking their own people with rubber bullets like that? And did you ever see that day? And then the lies, the media and the complete lies, everything, But who's here to speak for us? No, no one. There's not one political representative that could speak for us. Not one. There's nobody. All we can do is work towards this parallel society where dying isn't right. And I mean, it's amazing what you see on this guy Eamon Ryan, who's openly psychotic. I got this guy, whatever the fuck he is in Ireland, the minister for fucking varied platitudes. He just comes across a loony. He just comes across a nutjob, and he does nothing tangible. And then you have the other one, who's a Green Party guy here, putting aside huge amounts of money to house refugees. I mean, it's like, there's a joke going around at the moment. This is how do if you want public housing in Ireland, how do you get to the top of the house? How do you get to the top of the house? How do you move closer to the top of the public housing priority list in Ireland? You move to Afghanistan and become a Muslim. That's literally a joke at the moment, but it's something. It's not far from the truth. I mean, I'm no problem with immigration, but and I've definitely no problem with taking in people from helping people from war-torn countries. I've no problem with that at all. But you don't do it at the expense of the people that live here. You give them both the fucking house, or something like that. You help them both out, But common sense is just not common these days. Everybody has an agenda. There's no human decency in it, that's what really goes on. You have on the right, on the right, they'll say things like, well, they should house the Irish or house the locals before taking care of the refugees from Syria. And there's a coldness in that because, yeah, okay, maybe you have a point, but those people in what they've gone through in places like Syria, you have to kind of feel bad for them too as well. But on the right, they don't care. They don't care. And then on the left, it's the other way around. They don't care about the locals. So they would say, oh, give the house to any family that comes in from any country in the third world. Just make sure the Irish working class don't get those houses. And they're definitely driven by hatred of the Irish working class, particularly the left in this country. So both sides don't have any kindness in them. The left and the right, neither one has any kindness or decency. Although the left is completely insane these days, just like the right was completely insane back in the 80s. But they don't have any kindness. There's no heart there. Like my heart goes out to someone who suffered terribly as a refugee in another country, in a war zone. It really does. And my heart also goes out to Irish people who can't find a place to live. And they're living with their parents, that they're staying in rented accommodation they can't afford, and this kind of thing. And the people who control the property development in Ireland, they're perfectly happy to have the left and right fighting each other while they keep jacking up the prices and making it impossible, because that's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But ultimately, what happened with Dane in Victoria last week was positive, because even people who might have not had an interest in this stuff like we do, they saw the truth. They saw the truth. They saw what was really. They saw what really goes down. What will really go on if you stop being compliant and you start standing up for yourself. So things are moving in the right directions. It may seem that way, but like remember, Sweden and Norway, Sweden and Denmark now have no restrictions. Restrictions are now out of lots of United States. Joe Beijing may have put those awful laws to get everyone vaxxed in America, but I don't think they will last. I think his government looks like it's committing suicide, and you'll definitely have like a different administration come in at the next election who'll undo a lot of that stuff he's done. So Ireland on the 22nd of October, all our restrictions are apparently gone, except for you still have to wear a face mask in retail. That's the only ones left. Major, and also the travel thing. But we shall survive. Remember that. Remember that. I was watching that film again. I don't know why I watched it again, because it's absolute horror, but it's a masterpiece. Come and See, the film about the Belarusian, the World War II in Belarus, and it's just a horrific film, but it's a masterpiece too. But I watched it a second time just from the cinematic point of view, and it's even more powerful. But I was thinking, like, you would have got that, and you think that ancient history, and you think that was the mid 1940s. That's ancient history, right? But then I started thinking to myself, my grandparents were in their 30s when those events in that film happened. So history isn't that long time ago. I always remember that. History does not only has history not ended, but history isn't that long ago either. When you start like adding up, like, well, my grandparents were around during World War One, and they were too. It's like, well, kids though, babies, but like, wow. So, of course, they're all dead now. But I'm just saying, I remember them, in the 80s and 90s, and talking to them. But like, it's amazing to think that they were born during World War One. But you always keep that in mind. Within all wickedness carries the seeds of its own destruction. And that's what we saw Diane do this week. So what we saw was the seeds of their own destruction. So take heart from that. Take care. Louis all. Bye bye. And don't let the bastards get you.